good. What's tomorrow in Lambeau look like? Is it just a typical practice? Is it anything different, out of the ordinary, to kind of jazz it up a little bit?
Yeah, no, it's going to be a typical practice. Just want to put them in the environment that these guys are going to have to get accustomed to pretty quickly here in a few weeks in terms with playing with no fans. So I thought it would be a good opportunity. We're going to do this 2 other times just to get our guys acclimated to that setting.
Ryan Wood.
Hey, Matt, I know you're obviously careful with you guys' bodies. When you see a player go down like Devontae, what kind of protocols do you have in place before he's allowed to come back in an 11-on-11 setting, even if it's just a walkthrough? I mean, what kind of protocol, what's the process like for him to return?
Well, he goes and gets evaluated by our athletic training staff, and, they put him through some tests, and they said he was good to go, so that's why he came back.
Wes Hodquist.
Hey, Matt, just looking at Adrian Amos, what have you thought of the start that he's been off to of camp, and then also just kind of where he looks now in year 2 with Mike Pettin in this scheme?
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him, and I thought he had a heck of a year last year as well. He's a really good player, and he's a great presence, not only on the defensive team, but for our football team, and especially, with our secondary being a younger group, he really assumes that veteran role.
Jason Wilde.
Hey, Matt, given how vital Devontae is to what you do, I will not ask any specifics about his injury, but I am wondering, as the head coach, when he limps off like that with Flea and knowing how valuable he is, you have to keep coaching, but is your heart in your throat a little bit, given how important of a player he is?
Yeah, I think anytime, whether it's Devontae or any other player, you see a guy go down, and certainly it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But at the same time, you said it best. The show's going to go on, and it's a next man up mentality. And fortunately for us, he's going to be just fine.
Mark Daniels.
You got me okay?
I got you, Mark.
Mercedes, Za'Darius, same kind of precautionary things as Corey went through yesterday, and getting him back today.
Yeah, they're just. Want to be smart with these guys, especially a guy like Sadie's. We gave him some veteran days last year, and we're going to continue to do the same throughout camp, and just want to make sure that he's ready for week 1.
Steve McGargy.
Wondering, I know you've addressed the no fans in the stands for at least the first couple home games, but I'm just wondering, do you think there will still be any sort of home field advantage just from field comfort level, lack of travel? Or are these just going to be complete neutral site games when there are no fans where nobody has an edge?
Yeah, that's something that, that's none of us have really experienced before, but I'm certain that there's going to be some advantages from, the familiar setting, just in terms of not only the type of cleat you wear in Lambeau and like you mentioned, the lack of travel. So it'll be a unique experience for all of us.
Dave Schrader.
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
Got you, Dave.
Awesome. When you look at the efficiencies you've been able to set up, I know your practice times aren't as long. You haven't had as many practices as a normal offseason. But in what ways have you managed to fine-tune even the efficiency you had last year with shorter practices than people here had been accustomed to?
Well, right now we're just following the protocols set forth by the National Football League. Yesterday, the first day of pads was a 90-minute practice. We could adjust and add another 15 minutes today, and as well as tomorrow will be a 2-hour practice. So we're just following the rules, and that those time limits start as soon as we're on the field with the guys. And like I told you guys, I think it was yesterday, that we're starting off in the Hudson Center with some kind of walkthrough type activities, as well as our team stretch to kind of save our practice fields for the duration of the season.
Tom Silverstein.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Tom.
Two-parter. One, have the number of drops, do you feel, have they been higher than normal for the start of a training camp? And the other was, are you ramping up to, at some point, do you still plan to do some tackling, live tackling?
Yeah, to answer your first question, I definitely think that we've had more drops, and I think that's to be expected. These guys didn't have an off season, and certainly that's something that we're addressing, and we're making sure our guys are getting those ball drills in post practice. But what was that other question?
He was asking about live tackling.
Oh, live tackling. That's kind of a wait and see approach. I do think that we have to incorporate some of that, being that we're not going to have preseason games. It's going to be definitely something that we're going to put our younger guys through, probably more so than our veteran players that have had a bunch of games under their belt.
Matt Schneidman.
What intrigues you about what EQ can do as a receiver, especially after missing last season? How does he look so far?
Well, I think the first thing that jumps out to you, especially when you're in the meeting room with EQ, is he is really intelligent. So that gives you a lot of flexibility with him to be able to move him, throughout different positions and just put him in different spots on the field. Like I said, he knows our playbook inside and out. He knows the finer details, and I thought that was pretty impressive, especially since he missed all last season. So I just think that flexibility gives us a tremendous weapon, and not to mention he's a long guy that's got a pretty good catch radius, and he's got really good speed.
Pete Doherty.
Hey, Matt, you get 14 padded practices. I was wondering if you're planning on using them all, or do you think that would be too much, or do you think you'll have more days like today where you just go part of the practice in pads and then take them off?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty tough to get to that 14 practices before week one. So some of the days will be much similar like today was, where we'll start off in our uppers, which is our shoulder pads and helmets, and then when we get about halfway through practice, we'll dump the shoulder pads off, and it'll be more of a jog through type tempo. I always get a little bit nervous when we're practicing 4 days in a row. We know that in order to be at our best, we're going to have to be healthy, and we always want to take care of our guys. So that's something that we will incorporate to make it a little bit more of a mental approach to the practice, and we'll continue to do so throughout the duration of training camp.
Rob Domofsky.
Hi, Matt. I know yesterday you were asked about Tonyan, but to get a look at the whole tight end group today without, the veteran Mercedes, who what you have in, how valuable was that today, and what did you see from the rest of those guys?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that group. I think, obviously it is a young group that maybe doesn't have a ton of experience, but, all those guys can do a little something different. And so I think it's great competition in that room. And just excited to see them progress on a daily basis.
Aaron Nagler.
Coach, how or when did you develop this coaching style of yours, where you're given notes like after every walkthrough rep, you're talking to Kirksey on the sideline, like really individual stuff, like seriously, almost every rep? It's not something I've really seen before. Was there a specific moment? Was there someone you saw do this? Like, how did that develop?
That's a heck of a question there, Aaron. I don't know. I'm just trying to do what I think feels right, and what I've done my entire career. And certainly, it is fun when you have a guy like Christian Kirksey and some of these veterans that have played a lot of football and kind of talking through different strategies, because I think that you can definitely learn a lot from a different perspective, whether it's an offensive guy talking to a defensive guy or vice versa. So that's something that has always intrigued me, and will continue to do throughout the course of my career.
Jim Ozarski.
Hey, Matt, going back to the tight end group, I mean, even including Evan, who was up and got some run last year, now that they're all healthy and on the field and at your disposal, what does that do for you and Nathaniel, I guess, and just crafting a practice and installing or getting everything where you want it to be, since now they're all available for you?
Yeah, I think it just lets you be a lot more flexible, and you can throw guys, use multiple personnel groupings, and just go about it that way.
Brian Wood.
Matt, I wanted to follow up on the football with no fans question, because it is something that you haven't seen, but I'm sure you could at least imagine what that might be like. What are the biggest ways that changes the game if there's a game played in silence? It's something that you haven't encountered.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to see what that ambient noise is that the NFL is going to give to us here, hopefully sooner than later. But it definitely, you look at from a defensive perspective when you're at home and the crowd is super loud. It makes it tough on an offense, and so. Not only that, I think just the energy that the fans bring, and especially our fans, I thought they did a tremendous job last year of being loud and bringing us a lot of energy. So the guys are going to have to dig deep within themselves and find that energy to go out there and play.
Bill Huber.
Kirksey had the interception yesterday, and it looked like he was in pretty good shape on a deep pass to Aaron Jones earlier today. Do you feel like that maybe you've got to upgrade there as far as a coverage guy? It looks like he's got some real range.
Yeah, no, I've been super impressed with Christian. Again, he's a pro's pro, and just in the short time that he's been here, he is on top of his assignments and help directing traffic out there. Again, a great veteran presence. The guy's played a lot of ball. And just excited to see him progress in this system.
Jason Wilde.
I think we're going to set a tight end record for questions today, Matt. You talked about Tonyan yesterday. I wanted to follow up on that, though. Is he officially Bobby in the building now? Should we all start calling him that? And then B, was he really starting to come on at the time of his injury on that catch on the sideline? And how much do you think that did kind of stunt his growth? Because it looked from the outside looking in that he was really starting to get it together.
Yeah. No, you can call him Robert or Bobby. He answers to both. But no, he definitely was. I think he was making his way and making a significant impact last year. I mean, certainly that catch against Dallas was spectacular that he had on the sideline, and it was unfortunate. And anytime you get a young player that hasn't had a ton of experience and you take him out for a while, yeah, it totally sets you back. But to his credit, he showed a lot of toughness in being able to come back and provide a spark for us late in the year, and just really excited to have him healthy. I can tell that he's really worked hard this offseason. He was down in Nashville and busting his butt on a daily basis, and I think it's going to pay off for him.
You can do a few more. Mark Daniels.
Hey, Matt, how and when are you going to start working in some live special team stuff?
That's a great question, Mark. That's something that we're talking about on a daily basis, and I think it'll start to come. I think you'll see next week.
And last one, Mike Clemens.
And you lost a couple of defensive players, but I got to think from a year later and the success you had toward the end of the season, you and Sean got to feel a lot better about your roster options for filling out those slots on special teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a competitive situation, and certainly you can't have enough good players, but our guys have a much better grasp of what's asked of them, and that's an emphasis to any young player that's in here, is how important the special teams play in winning, and especially for teams that do well and want to go far. And so that will be an emphasis for those young guys. That's an opportunity for them to go out there and show what they can do and really earn trust from the coaches and earn more opportunities, whether it's on the offensive side or defense side of the ball.